You are ready for the final step in your graduation project. Well, close to final. There's one more assignment after this, the annotated bibliography, but this is the culmination of all of your work. You are going to record your presentation and then you're going to share it with me. So at this point, you've done all of your research, you have a final thesis statement, and you have organized that research, you've created a visual aid / slideshow, and you have submitted that, and now you are ready to actually give the presentation. So there's a couple of considerations I want you to think about, and these are good considerations for any kind of a presentation. One, how do you want to draft your speech? So there are a couple different options. The three options that are most common, the one is verbatim. That means I am writing it out word for word as though I'm going to speak every word that's on that page. I know a lot of students feel more comfortable doing that because they don't feel super confident when they are speaking. And there is a kind of a reassurance in going through that process because you've thought ahead of time about all of the words that you want to use. So that's a pro that you can have an opportunity to sit down and kind of organize everything that you're going to do and speak. But if I'm actually giving a live presentation, that's not so good because what happens is I end up looking at the paper instead of looking at my audience while I'm speaking. So, and if you're reading and you're not an effective reader, out loud effective reader, what happens is you kind of lose your personality. You're not somebody who can be very dramatic when you are reading the written word. You're going to kind of just become monotone. So there are pros and cons to this. Something to think about. The second option is to use notes or note cards. So you already have your outline, a visual outline for your audience. If you would want to have note cards that just kind of flesh out what you are going to say, in addition to the meat of the outline, I personally like note cards the best out of all three of these because they help me have cues, but they still allow me enough freedom that I can look up and make eye contact with my audience, or I can be a little bit more flexible than just reading what's on the written page. So it gives me a little bit more opportunity for me to be myself and be more natural. Cons, if I'm doing this live and I do not have my note cards numbered or organized and I can tell and I get nervous and drop them, that's going to cause an abrupt stop while you kind of shuffle to get those all back together. So that can throw off your rhythm. And the last is Adlib. You have to be an exceptional speaker and exceptionally confident in the topic you're talking about to Adlib. This means you just kind of wing it. You start without actually having thought about how you're going to put the speech together. This is not for the faint of heart. So if you are somebody who feels very comfortable and know that you can speak well about the topic and tie it all together in a way your audience will understand, then hey, go for it. A lot of people have that talent. I'm not one of them. I definitely have to have an outline and practice and all of that before. So those are your three options. And so in this assignment, what you're going to do is you're going to consider those and consider your own personal strengths and experiences. And I want you to tell me which one you're planning on doing. And then the second consideration is how are you going to record this? So we're specifically using a screencast, which means you're recording a screen while you narrate it. You could, if you really wanted to, do a recording of you delivering the speech. So it's you physically in the picture as well as the slideshow playing behind you or beside you. That's a little bit more of a challenge because you have to have the space, the physical space to do that, which would require a projector and a screen and all of that. So I'm going to just require the screencast. If you want to try to do the physical delivery, you're more than welcome. You can just reach out and ask me, and we'll talk about ways that you can get that done. So for screencasting, we're going to plan the technicality of this. What device are you going to use? Are you going to use a laptop? Are you going to use an iPad or a tablet? Are you going to use your phone? And what app are you going to use to screen record? So I'm giving you several. I've done some research for the ones I'm not familiar with. Macs, which I have been all Apple products for about 10 years now. They all come usually with QuickTime Player, which is actually what I'm using right now. If you look in the upper left-hand corner of this video, you'll see QuickTime Player. This is exceptionally easy to use. I just go to File, New Screen Recording, and click Record, and it's going to record everything that I'm saying as well as everything that I bring up on the screen as I do it. So super easy, then it saves right to your desktop, you rename it, and it's done. Chromebooks I'm not familiar with, but apparently they just created this Screencastify, and these are all links, by the way. You can click on them and they'll take you to tutorials. Okay, we all have Microsoft accounts because that's what our school uses. So you can also use Stream. I am not familiar with that at all. So that you would really be kind of flying solo on that. Okay, so these are all for laptops. If I am using my mobile device, whether it's an iPad, iPhone, or actual an Android phone, there are some links to how to do that as well. Okay, so you need to look at what technology you have in order to do this. And if you do not have any technology that you feel that would be best, we can talk about how to get your hands on an iPad here at school so you can make that recording. Okay, so a few tips is, one, you want to make sure if you're using your mobile, you want to make sure that you have the microphone turned on to record. Otherwise, you're going to go through the whole process and just record the slideshow, and that will not be beneficial. Okay, so the next for planning is, once you decide what device you're going to use, you need to consider what format the video is going to be saved in and whether or not you're going to need to convert that. Okay, so there are several ways a video can be stored. One is .mov and one is .mp4. I would highly recommend, especially those of you who are moving on to college or university, or any of you who enjoy the creativity of making videos. I know I've made several videos for family members for either significant birthday gifts or Christmas gifts. You want to consider what format you want to save it in, because you want to make sure it's viewable on multiple platforms. So the .mov and .mp4 are specific to different platforms, so I would definitely click this link and learn more about that so you can figure out what format your app. So you're going to have to identify that and fill that in. So I want to make sure that you are aware of that and that you know whether or not it's compatible across multiple platforms. That means, can I open that on a Mac, a phone, a Windows, or a Chromebook? I need to be able to access that on any platform. Okay? And then the last thing I need to think about is, where does the file save? Is it saving on my desktop? Is it saving on my phone? Is it saving into my photos? And do you have enough memory to save it there, or do you have to upload it to a cloud? You guys all have OneDrive, so you can all use that to save things. Do not feel like if you don't have enough memory on your own device that you can't upload to that to save it there. Okay, so that is just the technical aspects that I need to consider when I am planning out my screencasting. For content, here's something you definitely need to, now that I figured out where I want to record it, now I got to figure out like how it's going to actually play out. So if you are, since we're just doing a screencasting, you are only relying on your verbal cues. Like, I pause dramatically if I want you guys to like think about something I'm saying. I repeat stuff like, oh, you should probably save this document to this folder. Again, make sure you can go to OneDrive, or anything I repeat is going to be, the purpose of that is to, make sure I'm emphasizing that. You're not going to have the physical cues that you do when you give a speech in person. I think many of you have noticed over the course of the past year that without those physical cues, your instruction is very different. You have noticed that when you're live and in person in front of the teacher, even with the mask, those physical cues certainly have an effect on whether or not you understand something, or the depth to which you understand something. So that's something to consider when you're recording are your verbal cues, your volume, pacing, repetition, etc., are they going to be effective? Okay? So what you need to do is practice. That's an example of repetition. Deliver your speech to yourself out loud. Pause and make edits as you go through it, okay? If you think there's something that needs extra emphasis, pause and put a little note in the margin of the note card or the speech or wherever you're reading from or referencing, okay? I would, if I were you, record your voice just using your phone or your laptop. You don't have to worry about the video, and listen to it. Okay, I've gotten better about not aching over things and not re-recording things as I do this more and more with my teaching. But this is a formal presentation, so you want to listen to what you sound like an hour or more later. And the reason you want to do it an hour later is because you want it to not be fresh in your mind, because you'll think, it's the same with writing. If I read silently what I have written in front of me, I already know what I meant to say, not whether or not I actually put it down. So it's the same thing with speaking. Practice it, record your voice, listen to it, and you'll see whether or not you're actually delivering everything. Okay? And then next, you're going to actually go ahead and do the recording, the screencast. You're going to record yourself with your slideshow, and you want to make sure you are pacing yourself with what's on the screen. You'll notice as I move through this document, I'm rolling and scrolling through to make sure, perfect timing on that, to make sure that I am correlating with what's on the screen, okay? And you do that until you're satisfied. That's where that you repeat it until you're satisfied with it, okay? Do not worry about like little stumbles and here and there, because that's natural. That's part of speaking. It does not have to be 100% perfect before you submit it, but you should make sure that it delivers your message, okay? After you do that, you are ready to submit, and congratulations for saving and sharing that. Here's what you're going to do. First, you're going to find where that file was saved, and you're going to have to rename it. I want your first initial, your last name, the term GP, so I know it's your graduation project, and then the first 3 words of the title of your project. So for an example, mine might be B. Rice, GP, Reading the World. Okay, that's going to be the name of the document. If I have to, I'm going to convert that file into an MP4 or .mov. Then I'm going to upload that file to either OneDrive, which is your NKSD account, or Google Drive. And the reason you have to upload it is this cannot be emailed. It's going to be too large of a file, too much data, so it will not attach via email. So uploading it to a cloud and then changing the sharing settings is going to be the simplest way for you to share that with me, okay? You are going to then click share, whether I'm in OneDrive or I'm in Google Drive, and I want you to add both of my email addresses just to be sure, brice@nksd.com and ofacira@gmail.com, okay? Then, after you send that, you're going to go to the assignment in Teams, the Screencast final submission assignment in Teams, and I want you to attach the link to your final project and then click submit. So that way you're going to have it 3 different places: my NKSD account, my Gmail account, and submitted in Teams. So you are backup. Okay? So that is it. Congratulations. Once you get through all of that, you are done with the heavy work. The last thing you're going to have to do is your annotated bibliography, and that, frankly, is so simple. It shouldn't take you that long. So congratulations. I can't wait to hear these. So let me know if you have any questions, and I will definitely be sharing all the good stuff.